Yo, what is up everyone? Tachi here. So a little bit late, but we are going to be talking about the updates that we are going to be getting now, which is going to be Kaguya Alternate as a paid banner with her staff, of course, as well as the Gretel Reality banner, which is a whole topic altogether. So let's go into it and see what's up. So obviously Kaguya Alternate is going to be a paid banner, so for you free-to-play players, sorry. Usual stats for the reality is about 100, not about, it's exactly 160 per stat, plus you get an extra 400 HP at level 11 and 12, so that does come out to, I believe, 640 total stats. It's pretty good, but I prefer to have a focus on one stat, because I am a DPS, so I pretty much only care about M attack and HP. But obviously classes anyways, regardless, are helpful to pretty much everyone because of stat stick. If you are going to do this, I would highly suggest MLBing it, the staff that is, if you guys are interested in that sort of thing. Particularly if you happen to be a cleric, or if you want to get a two target staff if you want, as another backline or rear guard, but I kind of doubt it. Pretty much only clerics are going to do this. So moving on to the actual weapon itself, it is indeed a 2-target heal that increases magic defense by a small amount. Unfortunately, no recovery support. It does have P defense, so that kind of sucks, but stat wise it is very high. 1200 something each is not the top, but it's pretty up there in terms of total defense. And again, it is a 2-target, so that does make the staff quite good. Pretty much any good cleric that spends money, you're gonna want to have this, most likely MLB, and it should help you for a couple months, at least until it eventually gets replaced, because obviously this will eventually get replaced, but it's quite far away. You probably don't have to worry too much about replacing stuff just yet. Maybe in another couple months we'll be at a point where we're going to start replacing our first items. I think as a half nightmare, I'm just starting to get rid of some of my other spears, just barely, and it's replacing them with DC2s as they come along in DC1s. But anyhow, let's move on, which is going to be Gretel Alternate. Just like the other one in the other world, a cross-dresser, except unlike the other one, this one is not crazy and does not think that they are their sister. This one is just a cross-dresser, a live streaming cross-dresser, if you guys are into that kind of thing. So again, 160 in every stat plus the HP, so that's always nice. Let's move on to the more important thing, the spear. Unfortunately, it does not have DC, which means this spear is not that great for me, which also likely means I'm not going to pull on this banner. On top of that, because it also has the increased magic defense on this part, that also means that its ratio will be slightly lower in terms of damage. So not only does it do slightly less damage, not only does it not have DC, it's a mental focus 1, not even mental focus 2, but the worst part of all of it is that it has 2183 in magic attack. If I'm going to be MLBing a spear that doesn't have DC, it better have like 2300 something. So yeah, I'm pretty much guaranteed to like just skip this overall. Even though it is a guaranteed SR, I might do maybe one step. I kind of don't even want to do a step, but I might do one step and then just skip for the next banner, or just outright just skip. So yeah, if you are a half nightmare and you happen to already have 20 Ls, if your lowest spear is stronger than this at level 90, I wouldn't pull. You do have a pretty decent chance of getting multiple copies of this weapon due to the fact that it is a guaranteed featured weapon. You do have a pretty decent chance with your JC crystals, but it's just the weapon itself is just not good enough for me to say that you should use them right now. At least not if you are a half nightmare paladin. I would not pull on this banner unless you are at a point in the game where you just don't have 20 L spears. Then obviously having this would just be one more L spear. And even then, I think you're still better off just waiting for another banner. And that's just my personal opinion as a half nightmare user. Moving on to the next weapon, which is going to be Resistant Gun, which is obviously a bow. Again, this weapon does have increased magic attack by a small amount, which does in fact mean that it will have slightly lower damage than ones without that, but that is not a huge deal. It does have Replenish Magic too, which kind of sucks. I actually don't really like Replenish Magic at all, but stat-wise, it is pretty okay. It's not amazing, but it's definitely better than the spear, so there's that. Personally, I would probably still not pull for this and the spear. Like, just because there's two of them, it doesn't mean I would really pull on it. I do have a Half Nightmare spear grid. It's just, I still wouldn't do it. It's just not, it's not worth it for me to do it. Also, I was kind of burned on the Red Riding Hood banner, which was also a guaranteed SR. So, a little scared of them now. But moving on to the next weapon, it is going to be Voltage Dictionary. Reduce physical and magic defense to 1.5 allies, and it is a tier 3. Interesting. So stat-wise, you see the stat spread is actually quite high. Obviously, as some people might say, yes, you're right, maybe we shouldn't look at level 120. Alright, you know what? It still has pretty high stats even at level 80 with 1 copy. And obviously, if you happen to get luckier, it does have high stats period overall. A bit unfortunate that it has Replenish Magic here instead of Support Boon or something else, but it is what it is. But the main skill itself is actually pretty good. It does reduce both the defenses, and even if it's to one enemy, because you probably don't have just one type of damage on your guild. So my guild is 3-2 in terms of magic to physical. It's still useful regardless, and since it is a tier 3, that does probably mean that it's ratio, so the actual amount of stat reduction is not too bad. And then obviously, again, it is a 1.5 target, so there's a good chance. Technically, I think on paper it's supposedly 50-50, but yeah, bullshit. There's a good chance of it hitting 2 targets, which is, again, even better than that. So if you happen to be a defense focused, or your defense focused books are worse than this book in any way, let's say it's just physical defense 1 target, no support boon. If it's something like that, this could theoretically replace that. Or if you are just a defense focused sorcerer in general, this could still be just a good book. Personally, I don't think this book is really good, but it is pretty good in the current standing of books in terms of defense reductions. The only bad part about it is the fact that it's not support boon. I would even take this if this either had just 1 stat to 1.5 and support boon 2, or if it had 2 stat to 1 target support boon 2. I would still say this book would be even better than what it is right now. But just as it is, I think it's good, but it's I don't think it's good enough to pull for, depending on what your graded state is like. Now, obviously, it's going to depend person to person, so feel free to let me know in the comments down below how you feel about this book and your state of your grid as a sorcerer. Or, you know what, if you happen to be a minstrel and for whatever reason you're pulling for books that are not support boon, feel free to let me know. But moving on to the next weapon, which will be more relevant for you guys, it is going to be another whistle. Look at that, a minstrel weapon. What is that? Steel whistle. Kind of looks like a... I don't know what these things are called. Dude, I don't know what they're called. Anyways, magic defense to 2 allies. Nice. In current magic meta, having magic defense is quite nice. But it is Iron Shield deployment. Not a very big fan of it, but it is technically one of the better ones to have other than support boon. So there's that. And again, with the meta being magic heavy, this might be a pretty good defense related one to have in your grid. I'm pretty sure people aren't chasing 20 support boons just yet, so this actually might not be too bad. It actually might be worthy of pull for minstrels. You guys let me know on that though. Again, I am not a backline main, so my knowledge on those are pretty iffy. Stat wise, it is almost 6700, so it has a very good spread. And obviously, since it does have very high magic attack and magic defense, it will help out if you happen to be a magic related sorcerer and minstrel, because obviously both of you guys, you probably are slotting in some instruments even if you are a sorcerer. The nightmare that is coming out is going to be Armor Giant, and as you guys can see here, it is greatly reduced the effectiveness of enemy range and polearm skills. So this is a defensive nightmare that primarily reduces the damage that you are taking. I mean, it's not bad. This is definitely a lot better in terms of effectiveness than something like Noin, depending on what the enemy team is running. But typically nowadays, this is actually quite useful, especially if you're going to be popping it after like a lost Shinma, if you don't want to die. If it's not a book or an instrument or something like. Anyways, guys, personally, if you are a DPS, I would probably not pull on this banner, even though it does have 2 DPS weapons. Personally, I don't think either of them are good enough to warrant pulling on it. If you are a sorcerer, depending on the state of your account, it either is or is not worthy of pulling on. So probably around like 170k, you have like a good amount of books. I probably would say it's not worth pulling for you. Minstrels, due to the fact of the current meta, and it will continue being the current meta for another like 4 to 6 months, I do think that instrument might not be all too bad. So at least compared to sorcerers, it might be a better idea for you to pull. But even then, it's kind of iffy for me. I think the banner overall is just not that great. Anyways, guys, that is going to be the end of this video for me. If you guys enjoyed it, hit the like button, share it around, subscribe, whatnot, the usual typical YouTube stuff. For now though, I am out. Have a nice day.